Back in 2022, a crime story just exploded out of Delhi's Moroli area, and it sent this absolute shockwave across India. And it wasn't just the sheer brutality of it all, it was the cold, calculated deception that came after. We're talking about the Shraddha Walkar case, a story that really forces you to peer into the darkest corners of what happens when a relationship goes horribly, tragically wrong.
Yeah, and it's so important to get this. This was way more than just another crime statistic. This became a chilling lesson for everyone. A lesson in how trust can be completely turned into a weapon, how manipulation can just spiral out of control, and how a relationship that probably started with so much hope could end in just unimaginable violence.
So let's start at the beginning. At the very heart of this tragedy, you have two people, Shraddha Walkar, a young woman from Mumbai, and her live-in partner, Aaftab Poonawala. Like a lot of young couples, they were looking for a fresh start, so they made this huge, life-changing decision to pack up and move from Mumbai all the way to Delhi. Moving to a new city, that's supposed to be a fresh start, right? A brand new chapter. But for Shraddha and Aaftab, which should have been their exciting new beginning, well, it spiraled into something else entirely. Friends and family would later say that their relationship just became consumed by these constant, intense fights. A really clear, really worrying pattern of toxic behavior started to show, and people were getting seriously concerned. And let's be clear, this wasn't just a rough patch that couples go through. No way. Aaftab's behavior was described as incredibly controlling, constantly manipulative. The arguments got so bad that Shraddha was apparently under this immense mental pressure. She wanted to leave, she wanted out, but she felt completely trapped. And it was this atmosphere, this dynamic of control and fear, that set the stage for what was to come. Okay, so now we have to talk about the moment all of that control and conflict just exploded into unthinkable violence. What happened inside their Mahrali apartment? This is where the story takes its absolute darkest turn. So it's May 2022. Things finally hit a breaking point. The couple gets into another huge, intense fight. The argument was supposedly about all their ongoing problems. But this time, Shraddha had made a firm decision. She was going to leave him for good. And sometime during that argument, in what police later called a moment of sudden, extreme rage, Aaftab murdered her. But what he did next, this is what takes this from a tragic crime to something just monstrous. He didn't panic. Instead, he started a calculated, chillingly methodical plan to cover the whole thing up. He went out and bought a brand new fridge, specifically to store her body. He then dismembered her remains, and over the next several weeks, he disposed of the parts in different spots all over the city. And the whole time, he's just going about his daily life, trying to maintain this unnerving facade of normalcy. And for months, unbelievably, this horrific crime stayed a secret. So you have to wonder, how did it all come to light? Well, the investigation that follows is pretty much a masterclass in modern digital forensics. It's a story of how a simple trail of ones and zeros completely unraveled a massive web of lies. So, how did the police even get suspicious in the first place? It all started with Shraddha's family. They were getting more and more worried. First, they couldn't reach her for weeks, and then it turned into months. This complete and sudden silence was just not like her at all. So her father finally did what he had to do. He went to the police and filed a missing persons report. Okay, so once that complaint was officially filed, the investigation kicked off. The first thing police did was pretty standard. They started tracing Shraddha's last known location and digging into her phone records. And it didn't take long. Very, very quickly, all those call details and digital breadcrumbs started to paint a very clear picture, and it put Aaftab right at the center of it all. He was now the prime suspect. Now, at first, Aaftab tried to play games, He gave the police all these shifting stories and just straight-up lies. But here's the thing. You can't argue with digital evidence. The police had his phone location data. They had CCTV footage. They even had his online shopping records, which confirmed he bought that refrigerator right after the murder. And on top of all that, Shraddha's own private messages and chats told the story of just how toxic things had become. This digital trail, it was absolutely undeniable. And then came the final, grim confirmation. Based on Aaftab's confession, the police started searching the Moroli forest. They recovered human remains, and forensic DNA tests, well, they confirmed the unthinkable. The remains belonged to Shraddha Walkar.
Science provided that last, undeniable piece of the puzzle. The loop was closed.
But you see, this case didn't just end with an arrest. Not at all. It sent this ripple effect across the entire country. It forced this really difficult, but absolutely necessary, national conversation about relationships, about safety, and about all those warning signs that we too often just ignore.
I mean, this case just went viral. It was all over the headlines, all over social media, and it sparked these intense, really tough public debates. People started talking about live-in relationships, about women's safety, and maybe most importantly, about how to actually recognize toxic behavior before it gets to this point. For so many people, one of the most disturbing parts was how Aaftab just acted so normal after the murder. I mean, going to parties and all, as if nothing had happened. It was chilling.
So what's the lesson here? What can we possibly take away from such a tragedy? Well, this case is just a gut punch of a reminder about the red flags. We're talking about a controlling partner, someone who tries to dictate your every move, a pattern of aggression, and obviously any act of violence is a massive red flag. Constant manipulation that makes you second-guess your own reality, and something that's so common, isolating you from your family and friends. These aren't just disagreements. These are critical, blaring warning signs. And that really brings us to the biggest, most important question of all, doesn't it? Shraddha's story is such a stark reminder that trust, when it's misplaced, can be fatal. It forces us all to look inward and ask ourselves, are we really seeing the red flags in our own relationships or in the lives of the people we love? And maybe the most terrifying question is, can we spot them in time? Or by the time we do, is it already too late?